You've seen the videos. Guys stepping into ice baths, gasping, gritting through it, coming out looking like they just won something. It looks like a stunt. It isn't. There's real neuroscience behind why cold exposure has become one of the most talked about tools in mental toughness training. And it's worth understanding exactly what's happening in your brain, not just repeating what you've heard on a podcast. Let's start with the chemistry. In a landmark study back in 2000, researchers sat 10 men in water at 3 different temperatures: a comfortable 90 degrees Fahrenheit, a cool 68, and a genuinely cold 57, for 1 hour each, drawing blood at intervals to track what their bodies were doing internally. At the coldest temperature, something dramatic happened. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter tied to motivation, drive, and reward, rose roughly 250% above baseline. Norepinephrine, which governs alertness, focus, and your ability to stay sharp under pressure, spiked by around 530%. That's not a small bump. That's one of the largest acute chemical shifts ever documented from something that isn't a drug. Here's why that matters for you. Norepinephrine is the same chemical your brain relies on when you need to think clearly during a crisis, push through a hard conversation, or perform when the stakes are real. Cold exposure triggers a full-strength version of that response, on command, without an actual emergency. You're voluntarily putting your nervous system through a real stress event, and that's the entire point. Because here's the deeper mechanism. This isn't about the 30 seconds you spend shivering in cold water. It's about what happens afterward. Researchers call it stress inoculation. Every time you deliberately expose yourself to a real, uncomfortable stressor and get through it without falling apart, your nervous system learns something. It learns that this level of discomfort is survivable. Over repeated exposure, studies show your body's stress hormone response, cortisol specifically, starts to settle down faster, even as the alertness-boosting norepinephrine response stays strong. In plain terms, you get calmer under pressure, faster, while staying sharp. That's not a metaphor. That's measurable adaptation happening in your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the same system that governs your fight or flight response in every stressful moment of your life, not just in cold water. Now, let's be honest about where the evidence is thinner, because a self-improvement claim is only as strong as the science behind it. You've probably heard cold exposure triggers a testosterone spike, or that it directly rewires your brain for permanent resilience. Slow down on both of those. The rigorous data on cold exposure and testosterone is much weaker than the hype suggests. Most of what's circulating is speculation dressed up as fact. And while some research suggests cold exposure may boost a protein called BDNF, linked to learning and brain plasticity, that evidence is still described as preliminary, not settled science. The honest version of this story is impressive enough without inflating it. Cold exposure reliably and measurably shifts your neurochemistry toward alertness and drive, and repeated exposure appears to build real stress tolerance. It is not a testosterone hack, and it's not going to rewrite your brain overnight. So here's what this actually means for building mental toughness. The value isn't the cold itself, it's the rehearsal. Every cold shower, every plunge, every moment you choose discomfort instead of avoiding it is a small, repeated proof to your own nervous system that you can face something uncomfortable and come out the other side clear-headed and in control. That's not motivation. That's conditioning. The same kind that shows up later when the stressor isn't water, it's a deadline, a difficult conversation, or a moment where everyone else in the room is losing composure and you're not. You don't need an ice bath in your backyard. A cold shower, even just the last 30 to 60 seconds of your regular shower, run cold, is enough to trigger this same response. Start there. Build the tolerance. The point was never the discomfort. It was what discomfort, faced deliberately and repeatedly, teaches your brain about who you are under pressure.